Is the Horn of Africa falling into a conflict trap? Growing tensions between regional players have led to political moves that could change the status quo dramatically. In recent months, Egypt has ramped up its foreign policy initiatives in the Horn of Africa and particularly in Somalia. In August, Cairo unexpectedly offered to send its troops to Somalia as part of the new African Union Support and Stabilization Mission in Somalia, AUSOM. The mission, which is set to begin in January, will assist the Somali military in its fight against jihadist Al-Shabaab groups, the local branch of Al-Qaeda. AUSOM will replace the African Union Transition Mission in Somalia, ATMS, which is scheduled to withdraw by the end of this year with the approval of the Peace and Security Council of the African Union, AU. However, Egypt's interests extend beyond its peacekeeping efforts. Numerous indicators suggest that Cairo's move is motivated by long-standing disputes with Ethiopia over several strategic issues related to water resources. The region is entering uncharted waters, the Ethiopian Ministry of Foreign Affairs stated following Egypt's announcement about joining AUSOM. Ethiopia cannot remain idle while other actors take measures to destabilize the region. Although it did not mention the specific actors, it is clear that this message was addressed to Cairo. It was issued shortly after the signing of a defense pact and a military cooperation protocol between Egypt and Somalia, reaffirming their commitment to strengthening bilateral ties and enhancing regional security efforts. The agreement was finalized on August 14th during Somali President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud's visit to Cairo, where he met with Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi. Like Egypt, Somalia has issues with Ethiopia. Tensions escalated after Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed signed a memorandum of understanding with Muse Bihi Abdi, the president of the self-declared Republic of Somaliland, which the international community considers part of Somalia, on January 1, 2024. This agreement grants Ethiopia access to the Red Sea via the port of Berbera in exchange for the potential recognition of Somaliland's sovereignty. Somalia considered this move unacceptable, promptly declaring that it would not support Ethiopia's involvement in the AUSOM mission unless Ethiopia renounces the agreement with Somaliland. Somalia views the deal as a violation of its sovereignty and territorial integrity as it regards the self-proclaimed republic as part of its territory. In response, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed described access to the Red Sea as an existential issue and a natural right, but noted that Ethiopia intends to pursue this right in a peaceful way. The conflict between Ethiopia and Egypt was further aggravated by the implementation of the Nile Basin Cooperative Framework Agreement, commonly known as the Entebbe Agreement. In June 2024, South Sudan unexpectedly ratified the document, providing the necessary quorum to establish the Nile Basin Commission. The Entebbe Agreement was originally signed in 2010 by Ethiopia, Rwanda, Tanzania, Uganda, Kenya, and Burundi. South Sudan joined the agreement in 2012. The agreement nullifies the historical water allocations to Egypt and Sudan, 55.5 billion cubic meters annually for Egypt and 18.5 billion cubic meters for Sudan, determined by colonial-era agreements from 1929 and the 1959 agreement for the full utilization of the Nile waters between the two countries. Ethiopia maintains close ties with local Somali groups. Following Somalia's threat to object to the presence of Ethiopian troops as part of AUSOM, many leaders and politicians in the autonomous regions of Jubaland and the southwest state of Somalia opposed the government's plans to expel Ethiopian forces. Self-declared Somaliland and Puntland also actively collaborate with Ethiopia. Since 2014, Ethiopia has been part of the AU's peacekeeping forces in Somalia. Currently, over 4,000 Ethiopian soldiers are deployed as part of the ATMIS mission in Somalia. Additionally, thousands of Ethiopian troops are stationed in the central and southern regions of Somalia, which border Ethiopia, which is guaranteed by bilateral agreements with the Somali federal government. Somalia has emerged as Egypt's primary potential partner in countering Ethiopia. In this regard, it has replaced Sudan, where the civil war that erupted in April 2023 significantly weakened Cairo's influence. Before the conflict, the Sudanese armed forces, which came to power following the 2019 coup, supported Egypt's stance on the GERD, since Sudan is another downstream Nile country. In 2020, the two nations conducted joint military exercises, and Egyptian fighter jets were stationed in Sudan to exert pressure on Ethiopia. However, now that the Sudanese army is fully involved in the internal conflict, Egypt's military presence in Sudan has been nearly eliminated. The fighting destroyed some of the Egyptian fighter jets stationed in Sudan, and at the onset of the war, some Egyptian pilots were captured, forcing Cairo to withdraw its remaining troops. Ethiopia's potential access to the Red Sea poses a threat to Egypt's maritime trade revenues. Prior to the outbreak of hostilities between Israel and Hamas on October 7, 2023, and the subsequent attacks carried out by the Houthis in the Red Sea, Egypt earned about $9 billion annually from the Suez Canal. Now, amid regional instability, those revenues have plummeted by more than half, and the prospect of Ethiopia gaining access to the Red Sea threatens to increase Egypt's losses. In late September, an Egyptian military ship delivered a significant shipment of arms to Somalia, including anti-aircraft weapons and artillery. This move has heightened tensions between these two countries and Ethiopia, further complicating the situation in the region. Notably, these military supplies arrived before the start of the AUSM mission, which meant that they were not tied to the AU's peacekeeping efforts. The AU and the UN have yet to finalize the funding of the new mission and other aspects, which means that the deployment of Egyptian forces in Somalia is not part of an organized peacekeeping initiative. Meanwhile, official statements from Ethiopia suggest that its troops are likely to remain in Somalia beyond 2024, regardless of the actions of the Somali federal government.